Fresh out the oven, straight to the bank. Benz paid, smelling like bank. Seats, somebody died on them. Kitty looking like somebody cried on it. Ooh, what you looking at? What you looking at? Body like cinnamon roll. Icing on the top, if you got it, let's go.
Yes.
Oh,
Hello. Yes.
Yes, we are back, you guys, for another No Bra Wednesday.
What?
So it is the second Wednesday
Girl,
of
second.
the month.
What?
Shout out Breast Cancer Month.
Yes.
So get your titties
Shout
checked.
out. Go
No
get
Bra
your titties.
Wednesday.
No Bra Wednesday. Go get
So
your
we're
titties
here
checked.
for another Cocktails with the Sexologist, and our sexologist cup runneth completely over. I am the only non-sexologist in this motherfucker. But that's all right. I have my pen. I got my paper. I am ready. I wish I had some popcorn, y'all, because we have not one, not two, but three sexologists. Oh my God.
What?
Yes.
We're doing the sexologist takeover, honey.
Yes. So we're talking today about,
Girl.
oh my goodness, I can't get no satisfaction.
Girl. Why? Why,
Yes.
Lord?
The orgasm gap. Look, I didn't even know what the hell that was until I talked to Sonya. I was like, oh, there's an orgasm. I knew there was. I didn't know it was, an official
girl.
For
right.
It. But we are going to get into it today.
Girl, we're going to break it down.
Sexologist, so grab your cocktails.
Girl.
Tell the children go on about their business, put them out, and get this tea, honey, because they're about to drop it up in here.
Girl, like
so,
Sonya,
like our resident sexologist, you tell me what we have coming up.
What? Yes, first of all, I'm so excited because, of course, it's my week, so I get to, we about to, I've been cheesing all day. So just as a reminder, we go live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern for No Bra Wednesday, where we let our girls loose and we say it with our breasts, because them titties be talking and they about to be talking today, honey. So these titties have some wisdom, and we're going to talk about this gap, honey, and this lack of pleasure, honey, this no satisfaction, honey. So I cannot wait. Just as a reminder, the first show of each month is usually Ask Your Daddy, where we let the testosterone in the room and we like to hear the men say what
they were in here last week.
Yes, and yes, they were. And they probably watching right now, because when they heard we were talking about the orgasm, the gap, they were like, oh, we might learn something. So
come on through.
And or we have Shooting the Shit with Sonya and Pops, where of course we talk about current events. So first Wednesday of the month is either one of those shows. Second Wednesday is always Cocktails with a Sexologist, and of course the fourth Wednesday is your girl dropping the money tips, money hits, money moves with Pod. So make sure you tune in and check us out. Next week we are going to be talking about parenting. And and actually, while I was sitting here, I meant to run it by you when I came up. I'm like, the good, the bad, the ugly. Now I don't know if that's going to be the title, because we haven't titled it yet, but honey, we're going to be talking about co-parenting and what's going on out here in these in these parental streets. So and we're gonna lay hands on the screen, for those of you parents that need us to touch and agree, because I know it's rough out here. It is rough out here.
Is there one, y'all?
Is there one? Yes. Child raising them children and not for the faint of heart. All right. So I'm excited because, like Pastel said, we have not one, not two, but three. And I have two sexologists who have agreed to jump on with us. I cannot wait, because I just have enjoyed my conversations with both of these ladies. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. First, we're going to start out on my left, Miss Desiree. Let me see. Where's my Okay, wait, here we go. Miss Desiree Robinson. Take a couple minutes. Tell us who you are, ma'am, and what you are all about.
Oh, thank you. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you tonight. So my name is Desiree Robinson, and I'm a psychotherapist and a sex therapist. I specialize in sex, intimacy, and trauma. And so it sounds very heavy, I know. It's kind of like boo downer. But in reality,
girl, and necessary.
it's so necessary, right? Because a lot of this is intimacy injuries, it's conditioning. And I always say, people in Western culture, we have a lot of things to dismantle and unpack. So a lot of my work, in my opinion, it's fun. It's work, right? But at the same time, we're just getting to the truth. We're doing it in ways. I have a Black feminist perspective, so it's not anti-man, it's not anti anyone else. It's really just saying, hey, how do we really get to a space where there is truth, there is beauty, there is ease? That's my word of the year, ease, especially sacred ease, and how we access our personhood, our intimacy, our connections with others. So instead of doing all the time and having to hustle, be productive, and we're tired and dissatisfied, I have a whole other way that we do that, a whole different perspective. And I love it. So my link tree is there. You can visit my website. And since I'll be moving into live events in 2023, fingers crossed that COVID, it's not gonna hit us again. But when I do start live events again, I need everyone to start embracing this idea of ease, which is not relaxation. It's a whole different thing. And so in my link tree, there is a fun prize. It is a Sacred Ease Bingo. So let's just try that out so that we can start priming our minds for this deeper, delicious work.
I know that's right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Miss Desiree. Yeah, I can't wait for us for the in-person events as well. So, yes. And then we have Miss Deborah Davis. Deborah, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to in the world, ma'am.
So hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here, and I thank both of you for actually giving me this opportunity. But I am Deborah D., your sexologist, your certified erotic blueprint coach, and nurse practitioner. So I help others free themselves so they can be free with others to experience the power of pleasure and deeper intimacy for a lifetime. So basically, erotic blueprints, I love it. That is my favorite thing. I help a lot of couples get through issues that they're having and just learning how to discover what their bodies need, what turns them on, how to communicate, just gaining the skills and confidence, how to become that ultimate lover and not leaving each other out of the picture, just serving yourself, learning about one another, how to listen, how to feed, how to pleasure, and just, be a receiver and a giver of it all.
All right. Yes. See, the screen is starting to drip, so it's starting to get juicy out here. Well, ladies, I thank you for being on. We're excited to have you here for this important conversation. You are doing the Lord's work, so thank you, because we really get to me. I think one of my biggest things about sexuality is setting women free. And, I'm excited about this conversation because, as we know, as a lot of us sexologists know, there is an orgasm gap. Now, I know a lot of people have never heard of that term or heard of that and understand what that means. So statistically speaking, there was a study done that determined that there is a gap between the amount of pleasure that men and women are experiencing in the bedroom. And so what they've actually determined is 95% of men indicate that they always orgasm during whenever they have sex. That is, on the other hand, 65, or some statistics say 68, but 65 to 68% of heterosexual women say that they always orgasm during sex. And I'm sorry, I don't know if when I said men, it should be heterosexual men. So we're talking about a very wide difference between 95% of heterosexual men versus 65% of heterosexual women. And then we also have lesbian women in those statistics are about 86%, and then 88% for gay men. So there's a huge gap between how much pleasure we're having in the bedroom. And so what we want to do is talk about that and say, what's causing that, what this gap even is about, and also what do we get to do to close that gap? Because at the end of the day, ladies, we are out here suffering in these bedrooms. So, there are women that are not experiencing maybe the pleasure, and some of us have actually given up on pleasure.
Yeah.
So, and given up and don't come to the bedroom expecting anything, unfortunately, or at least are coming thinking, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's not where sometimes our counterparts are coming to the bedroom expecting to be pleased. So I'm going to give the ladies a moment just to talk about that. And then I have a nice little list that I want to go over with some of the 12 reasons. But what is your understanding of the orgasm gap, and how have you experienced that in your practices?
You're muted, so I'll go. Like nose. Yeah. So this is actually super common in my practice, not even around orgasm per se, but when my couples come in around their dysfunction, right? We're not having sex. Maybe we've never had sex. And then the cascade of reasons why that's showing up. And often it's because we have a different idea of what sex is, right? So the first thing I want to know for people is, what even is the function of sex for you? Is it physical release? Is it intimacy? Is it closeness? And oftentimes the definitions are very different. And then the whys of their not having sex, we can trace back to some parts where a violation feels like it has occurred, usually an emotional violation, some sort of disconnect, because for some women who are married to heterosexual men, it feels almost dutiful. Like, okay, let me just get him off my back. Let's not have an argument, etc. And like you were saying, a man is expected to have it, right? It's like, okay, I do all these other things. This is the one thing I asked for, and she doesn't want to do it. And so it's just this continual buildup of trying not to cause drama, as opposed to being like, where's the intimacy, the connection? Where is just this? There's so much more to it, but it gets caught up in the sex. That's where it becomes obvious, the other stuff.
Right. What about you, Deborah?
I see a lot of things like, how we grew up, a lot of societal, religious, influences that, have really put a lot of pressure, not only on the women, but the men as well, when it comes to pleasing their woman, satisfying them. How porn influences men. And when they put that on a woman, it just causes a lot of issues, and along with chronic health conditions, there's so many different causes, that are preventing women from having orgasms, not just because they're not being stimulated, there's shame, how women are expected to act a certain way, good girl, bad girl thing. We can't really express ourselves because we're judged so much. If we want to be pleased a certain way, we get confronted with questions like, where'd you learn that from? Who taught you that? So we're shut down early on, so I think it's really important to educate women that you do have the right to be pleasured and satisfied, and just learning about your body and being able to communicate what you want is really important.
I think
I think that a lot.
I think you said something really big there, Deborah, because just in terms of the mindset, we're in we're not recognizing how much we're shut down from a societal place in terms of saying, okay, you really shouldn't be wanting sex, and you shouldn't be wanting it as much as you do, and you certainly shouldn't be wanting to experience pleasure. Or if you do, that gets labeled. You're, somehow there's something wrong with you. Or, okay, like you said, good girls don't behave that way. So then it's like, somehow I need to fit into this narrative that says that, okay, this is how women are supposed to behave. And that, like, there's a lot of suppression. Like, okay, so that means that I can't really, like, my real authentic sexual expression, she's shut down. So it's like now I'm not tapping into that energy because I believe I'm not supposed to be feeling that anyway. Or if I think I want to experience it, that doesn't mean that the societal norms is causing me to suppress that.
I have a question. So for me, orgasm is the culmination of sex. So it's the way where
It's
we
the
want to
pinnacle,
go.
right? Exactly.
Right. But does it take a, does that mean that women are not experiencing pleasure? Because I hear you all saying, women are suffering and, what about the journey? You know what I'm saying? So it
Yeah.
feels like that's being left out by
Well,
focusing on the orgasm.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's really important
yeah,
because I think there's a misconception that pleasure is only in the genitals. No, it's the whole body.
Mm-hmm.
It is the whole body. And you have to be able to open up and get out of your head and be able to just be free enough to experience the whole body, pleasure gig. So, yeah, and you have to have a willing partner to go along with you on the journey. Yeah,
Or not.
or you can go on this journey alone. Yes,
that's right.
definitely.
Oh,
That's
Well,
right.
yeah,
And yeah, women tend to orgasm more when they self pleasure.
mhm.
Yeah, but if we can get women to honor themselves and understand their bodies, and yes, you do have the right to do this. Men do it all the time. So
Right.
why is it that we can't?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of the context as well, though, right? Because this orgasm gap business, typically we see it contextually when it comes to penetrative intercourse or
Mhm.
partnered intercourse, right? But that's one of the first things diagnostically we see. People think they have sexual dysfunction. Like, what's wrong with me? I don't want it. And so it might be with your partner, you're not climaxing, you're not orgasming. And if you are a penis owner, orgasm and ejaculate are different things, but a lot of people conflate them, right? So that's another concept to consider. But at the same time, it's like, okay, when someone is on their own, there is a sexual competency. They know how to navigate their body. They've actually been entitled to do so or encouraged to do so. It's very different when it comes to self pleasuring, the ability to orgasm, but also how many people actually take that liberty and how many people bring it into their relational dynamic, right? And then how many partners are actually available to learn. I literally had someone who told me it wasn't until they were after 30, not a client, they were after 30 that they realized they can't just copy and paste on every woman that he was with.
right,
He
yeah.
didn't understand that concept. And so there's so much nuance outside of just the physical part. It's also the dynamics of how we engage in sex, what we understand about ourselves. And I think permission is a big part, but also personhood. Am I present to intercourse as
Mhm.
opposed to self pleasure?
Yeah, I think, and so I hear you, Poss, with respect to the journey, and I think that that's not. I think that women not experiencing pleasure, or like right now they're talking about orgasms. However, I think that that is on par with if some of the orgasms or there's a gap in orgasms, you can guarantee there's probably also a gap in the journey because there are women that are just kind of there to please their partner or not there with any expectations. And not to say that it doesn't feel good, but I mean, sometimes certainly being able to say I'm okay if I don't have an orgasm, but there are a lot of women that want to have them are really challenged about the fact that they cannot have them. So what's happening? But I agree that part of the issue is learning how to enjoy the journey, because often one of the biggest things is that we're in our heads.
Yes.
So that's one of the biggest reasons why we are experiencing orgasm less. It's that we get to learn how to be in our bodies and actually enjoy sex. But again, from the societal standpoint, we're worried about how I look, how I smell, what is he thinking about me, and really not being able to almost surrender into the experience.
Mhm.
So, so that's one of that's one of the things. So I wanted to presence this particular article that I found, which has 12 reasons why there is orgasm inequality, just so we can talk about a couple of them. I mentioned privileging male pleasure, because of course what we see and what we're taught is very male focused in terms of sex. So it's in porn, you're not seeing a woman being pleased, you're seeing a man getting off. And so if that's what we're being taught, that this is how sex looks, then usually that's what we mimic, or at least that's what our men are being taught, and that's what women are being taught too, because we're watching the same videos. What do you guys, what are your thoughts in that area?
Yeah, I think, the way society sees things is that, the penis is put into the vagina, especially with porn. And, the woman is, moaning and groaning, and you interpret that as she's having these mind-blowing orgasms,
Oh,
and
She's
it's
probably
just
in
so much
pain.
focus.
say that again, Pascal.
I said
That's
she's probably in
possible,
pain.
yeah.
In pain.
Yeah, but there's so much focus on the vagina being that spot for pleasure. And we leave the clitoris out. We leave other erogenous zones out, because there's so many places on our bodies that, if touched the right way, it feels good. So, there's this analogy like, putting the spoon, which is the penis, in the pot, which is the vagina, stirring the spices, which is arousal, okay, to make the food taste good, which is orgasm. Okay, so if you don't touch or turn that knob to turn the heat up, which is the clitoris, it's just gonna stay cold. It's not gonna be good food, you
Right.
know? So I don't know. I heard that somewhere, and I thought it was so, it's like that fits.
Right. What
Yeah.
about you, Desiree? You have any thoughts on that?
Pornography is a production. It makes money. And so a lot of people learn sex on pornography. And so from that perspective, it's not even like perhaps old school where there was a story and a build up and some sort of enticement.
I know. It used to
Now
be.
it's
Yeah.
just like
Soundtrack.
exactly. And so even when you think about it from that perspective of how people kind of learned about engaging in any kind of physical intercourse, now it's just kind of like shoot, action, penetrative sex, and it's so wham bam thank you ma'am, and people have no concept. Some people have no concept on how to really engage someone. And so yes, porn privileges the man. Straight porn privileges the man. Different types of porn will do different things. And what I notice, listen, sexologist, seen a lot of things. Okay. Gay porn is very different than heterosexual porn. Very, very
You
different.
tell.
And so the reality is a lot of heterosexual porn, it does not do any favors to women, right? It really objectifies women, in my opinion. And if your thing is to be objectified in your sexual relationship, that is a very different consensual dynamic compared to the woman is just the thing for the man to get pleasure, right? In this context, compared to where some man on man porn, it's just a very different dynamic. It's really like bros, like there's an affection and an intimacy. So I think even this social conditioning is very, very different if that is how you're learning porn. Intimacy, sex.
Got it. Yeah, well, and that's funny that you're saying that because I've heard people talk about how they actually even enjoyed masturbating to gay porn because they're like, I guess they like the intimacy and the closeness that's in that versus what they usually see with heterosexual porn. So it's interesting that dynamic would come out on screen, and it's just men.
Yeah,
but men on men, there's more affection. Oh, what'd you say, Paz?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But then when men on women, which just from a standpoint of what we understand about this society, we are moving out of or we're working hard to move out of being objectified. And what that means that now all of a sudden I'm not a person and it's not about my experience.
Yeah.
It's about, So yeah, okay. So let's see. There's a couple more I wanted to actually bring up. One, let's see. Women discouraged from asking for what they want. Y'all have any comments on that? Any thoughts?
Ooh.
Yes, there's, you know, like I talked about earlier, how we are shut down early on, even by our parents. You
Mhm.
know, that's not ladylike. Your dress needs to be down to your, below your knees. You can't, you can't say, touch me here, touch me
Mm.
there. That feels good. I like that. Because you're deemed as a whore, you know,
Mhm.
this
Right.
and that, because basically we are taught to lay there, just let your man take over, please him, don't say a word. We're gagged. We're gagged.
Mm. Wow.
And, we think about, like you talked about, our bodies. We're so much in our heads, the way we smell, the way we look. Is my stomach sticking out? All of these things, yeah, it's a lot that shuts us down.
Yeah. And I want to
That
be
gives
clear.
me. Oh, go.
Oh, no, you go ahead, Paz.
I was gonna say that gives me a lot of hope for the younger generation because they are totally less concerned about their bodies. They wear what the hell they want. I'm like, girl, you better go. No,
Got
I couldn't do it, but my God, bless your heart. You are
It's
okay
a
with
bless
that.
your heart.
I know, I really love it that they
it.
are okay, that these young women are okay with how they look. Some people may turn their nose up, but I'm like, wow, they're really courageous.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, I'm also scared because they've been, the porn is so accessible now that a
Mhm.
lot of our youngsters are learning sex through visiting porn. They can it's a click of a button.
Right.
We talked about this before. We had to find the magazines and the big VHS tapes
Right.
hidden in a corner, locked up somewhere. But they don't have it's highly accessible and easy to get. There are no firewalls and nothing. You can get, if you have a phone computer, you can get to it. So
Mhm.
I just feel sorry that that's the way they're learning about sex.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I've seen is horrible.
Yeah, and it's still again very degrading. Like there's a lot of porn. There's a big subsection of porn that's all about degrading women. So it's like it's not then then it's not in favor of.
Mm.
Like it's not in favor of you or your sexuality. And I would actually say that I can appreciate what you're saying, Poss, in terms of women feeling a lot more comfortable wearing what they're wearing. That still doesn't necessarily translate into I'm going to feel comfortable when it's time to be intimate
I think I
because
was commenting more on the, worrying about how they look.
oh, worrying about okay how they look. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so certainly they'll feel free there, but this in terms of I mean we forget that sex is very vulnerable, and so we've not learned how we don't feel safe enough to be vulnerable and to come out if this is if either I or my partner has not created a safe space, then I'm not really going to come all the way out. And so if we don't feel safe, we're not emerging. So it's like that turtle in a shell sort of thing. And and there's a lot of coaxing that gets to come out. But when you have a safe space and your partner is giving you almost like permission to I well, one, you've done it for yourself and your partner has done it in such a way that I will respect and appreciate you and your sexuality. Then you can let yourself be free and do what you want to do. So, but that's
Mm.
not always given, not by yourself, not by your mother in your head and your daddy in your head, and everybody that's telling you that this is not how you should be behaving in the first place.
On another note of that, these kids they have Cardi B, they have Meg the Stallion,
They do.
they have these women who are like, fuck y'all. This how I want it. This my pussy. I'ma do what I want to it with it and whoever I want to. And if you can get the fuck out if you ain't pleasing me.
Yes.
That's
We
true.
did not have. I mean, when I think of growing up as a little girl, well, we had Millie Jackson, but they were listening to that in the corner like all the kids got to go because Millie was talking some shit,
Right.
on
She was.
out. And I think the closest we got into that level of in your face sexuality with women when Lil Kim and Foxy Brown came out with in hip hop. They became
Mhm.
these overtly sexual. They were overtly verbalizing their experiences sexually, and we were, clutching our pearls a little bit. I was like, "No, little Kim," you know.
With the album cover and everything, just
Yeah,
spread,
just spread
just ass out.
ass out. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
want to touch on that a little bit if I can. So, the experience I had in my life, you know, um, I was never ashamed. Never. My mother, she didn't teach me to be that way. My mother was 16 when she had me, and her parents never talked to her about sex. So she vowed that her children would never have to go through what she went through. She
Yes,
was
ma'am.
16, forced to marry a 21-year-old, move away from her family to a different state, have me. This is a child.
Oh God.
Having a child. And my mom was a nurse, so she taught me early on about sex, all of that stuff, your body. So here I was in elementary school trying to teach my friends the right words to say.
Oh, you were blessed.
I,
She was a sexologist
You
in
know,
first grade.
I
Okay.
was shut down, called, "You're a nasty girl." I was like, okay, no, I'm trying to teach you everything natural. Don't be afraid of this. This is what this is called. All throughout my life, even still today, people call me nasty girl. Okay, but no, I didn't let that stop me from, being who I was. But
So
that's
you
that's
ain't new to
rare
this.
for
You true
women.
to this, Deborah D. Okay.
Yeah, right. She ain't new to this. She true to this.
Ah,
But that's so important though, because a lot of women don't have that level of confidence. Like a lot of us do not and are shamed and may not as Desiree was even talking about with trauma. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
there's now healing that needs to take place for me to get back into my body and appreciate myself and be able to really learn how to find my own authentic sexuality and then learn to express her.
yeah. Even your personhood, right? What you were saying earlier about safety, I think is really key because sex is developmental, but we don't even see it that way, right? Learning about your body, not being ashamed of it, where you can touch yourself. Instead, it's like, no, don't, as opposed to, okay, in your room, not in front of the living room, you pull down your pants. We don't really teach people little people, how to be appropriate, as opposed to we teach them how to be likable, how to be likable to people that we enjoy. And so it's not until they grow up, some people are not even anticipated to know about sex if you're very religious, right? It's just get married. And then, like the Matrix, you just have a download about what sex should be. And so there's an ignorance, right? But this idea of safety is important and acceptance is significant. Otherwise, it becomes performative, right?
Right.
If I can just please you, if I can just be the good girl, you're not going to reject me. You're not going to leave me. You're not going to abandon me. And that's how we start to recreate and reenact a lot of this stuff sexually. And that becomes our blueprint, our imprint. Not even knowing that, we've just been robbed of the opportunity to get to know ourselves because we live in a society that shames sex and sexuality and power, honestly.
Sexual
Well,
power for real. Go ahead,
let's get to
Paz.
some of these questions. Someone asked, "What are your collective perspectives on the G spot?"
Oh, okay.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Y'all got the
The
sexologist.
G-spot.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a lot of people that think of the G-spot as a myth, but it is actually a spot on the upper wall of the vagina. Okay, so if you were to put your fingers or your partner put his fingers or her fingers inside the vagina about 2 inches, and you're at the top wall, this is the vagina, okay? You're putting your fingers in, and that top wall, you're gonna feel like ridges. It's not gonna feel like the side wall, which is smooth, okay? But there's gonna be like some ridges. So if you push on that, or like this come hither, it can release
Yeah, but I
some
know that.
awesome pleasure. Yeah, so you're like doing
Yes.
this, like,
Come
come
here.
to me.
Heather.
Come to
Yes.
me.
Come hither.
Yeah, but it
Yes.
does. It's similar to the P spot in men, the prostate,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
how that produces ecstatic pleasure for them. So
Right.
yeah, it
Exactly.
does exist, but you have to be able to know how to find it, and it takes a little while, okay? Because you're actually pushing up on the bladder too. So you
Mm.
might feel like, oh, I gotta pee, and you can't get out of your head because you feel that sensation, but you really have to get into it,
Yeah.
So I always recommend that, go use the bathroom, empty your bladder if you're going to anticipate that. But yes, it does exist.
Mhm.
And with that,
And it's pleasurable.
yes, with that, what people know as squirting, because your glands fill up with this fluid because of the vasodilation, or your blood vessels are filling up, the organs around your vagina, then you just
All the way to the end of the bed, honey.
just
So
let it out. Some people think that they've actually urinated, but no,
yes.
it is female ejaculation.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's the only type of orgasm that causes that release of fluid like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So and I would say that also a lot of there's folks that believe that really that G spot is just the clitoris on the inside. So that the clitoris, we understand that it actually one is not just the little bulb and the little man in a boat that everybody actually, you know what? Let me
Not the
grab
man
my
in the boat.
yeah. Oh yeah, you never heard the little man in the
The
boat. So
motto.
most of the time the clitoris,
Yeah.
this is the actual clitoris. So she's
Yeah.
a lot bigger than what we usually expect. This is the opening to the vagina here. So often there's this belief too that when you are actually touching the G spot, you are stimulating the clitoris from the inside. So the clitoris, there's a lot more to stimulating the clitoris than just stimulating here, and usually pressure on the outside on the vulva actually stimulates her as well. So so yeah, so that also is one of the ways, as Deborah said, you can stimulate the G spot too.
And that's what I'm talking about with ease, right? Again,
Mhm.
it's not per se relaxation. There's a mastery and a confidence that shows up when we kind of slow down and
Mhm.
explore the body, right? It doesn't have to be goal-oriented sex where it's basically let's just get to the end, let's get to the climax, right? And we can come in and out of sex as well, right? Something don't smell right, you say the wrong thing, the arousal can go down, but it can also be turned back up. And so something like the G spot, that becomes that spongy tissue, it becomes more apparent when there's more blood flow, more arousal. That's sex, right? The stuff in our head is stress and anxiety. And it tells your body, like, no, we have to panic. Something's not right. So the more calm, relaxation, and invitation there is, the body is like, ooh, hello. The blood goes towards all these areas because it's available and accessible when we can explore as
Right.
opposed to just penetrate to get to what end.
Yeah, almost like you were saying, Pasta, about the journey. It's the more focused we actually are. Sometimes, especially for women, the more focused we are on the orgasm, the more it makes it likely that you won't have it if you are not accustomed to having it. So it's like we do need to get into the journey and actually like release the need to have the orgasm for the sometimes for the orgasm to occur, because you need to get to surrender to the pleasure, like give in and let go. So
Okay.
a lot of this is about us letting go. So let's see. Let me see if there's another one. Let's see.
We have a few more comments.
Okay, yeah. Well, go with the comments.
Okay. Someone stated, from what my gay male friends shared, the men on men sex is very aggressive.
Hmm.
So there was
Okay.
a comment about the we was discussing the porn, the gay porn
Mhm.
earlier. Someone also said, yes, women are traditionally taught to be a lady in the streets, but repress being that freak in the sheets in terms of being clear about what they like pertaining to sexuality.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Well, but it's funny because if you think about it, we were talking about this the other day, the whole like almost like your mental being split. You're talking about I'm needing to be two different roles. You talk about that being a challenging thing, that somehow I'm supposed to have this persona that looks like I don't really get down like that. And I'm also supposed to get down like that. that's a psychological, and I'm sure psychotherapists can speak to that. Sometimes that's where you're not. It's like that's where your being is split. And so to say, so because men are allowed to be sexual and to be it's like, okay, I can show that I am sexual, and there's no need to pretend like I don't like sex. So when you're trying to embody both of those things, it can actually cause a split for you from a psychological standpoint.
It absolutely does, right? It's very confusing to show up in how you've been told to show up, to ignore or override your desires and beliefs in order to be likable, approachable, in order to get a job. So even though we're talking about this in the context of sex, a lot of the things that we've brought up so far also mirror women in society as well, right? Don't be too loud, don't be too aggressive, don't be too black, stop using those $20 words. You shouldn't want too much. And so that trickles in, but who does that actually benefit? The man. Is it when you're a freak in the sheets? It's usually to keep your relationship. We don't hear that where it's like, be a freak in the sheets because you get to be expressive now. This might be the appropriate setting where you just get to release with your partner, with yourself. That's never the backdrop for that narrative either. Again, not anti-man, but if we don't call it what it is, we just continue to perpetuate it. And then we just do stuff behaviorally. We have to change the system of thought, right? So a lot of this is control, oppression. It stems from colonialism and patriarchy. And so part of the antidote then is self-awareness, liberation, and learning to advocate for what you want. And then communicating that in a way that it can be received.
Yeah. That's actually really big. Just with respect to the idea that with both of those two roles that you just said, it's not about you. These are two beingness that you need to do for your relationship. It has nothing to do with you doing this because this is what you enjoy. This is about the two roles that you need to play to make your partner, keep your partner happy.
To keep your partner happy, or to / keep your partner. And so then we're diving into these underpinnings of this is how I establish my worth. Right. And so whatever iteration it is, even like the Cardi B and the Megan Thee Stallion, I love hearing City Girls, right? But it's a nuance of we're no longer available to be subject to other people's pleasure and disposal. And they get a ton of flack for it, right? Because it's not this cute, good girl stuff. It seems like it's anti-men, but really it's like, look, there's a boundary. There's a worth that you get to have about yourself, not related to pleasing other people. I appreciate those PSAs. I do. I do.
So
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
We have one additional comment. Excellent show, ladies. Great topic. No more faking orgasms.
Girl, oh my God.
Like,
no more. Yes. If we can walk away with one thing, it is stop. That's communication. I tell women all the time, it's like, so if somebody fix you a plate of food and it's something that you absolutely hate and you are eating it and talking about this is the best shit I've ever had, you're going to have the same thing tomorrow. And the next day after that, like really, you are setting yourself up. I remember just thinking, I would never, I have never, and not that it just never felt like to me, I'm communicating the wrong thing to you if I fake an orgasm. And I just never felt like I could. I'm like, nope, that wasn't it. And let me support you. Now we're going to work on what is it, but this is not it. Because I'm thinking if I tell you that it is, you are going to, I'm never going to get what's it. It's never going to happen. Yeah. So now I think we've talked a lot about why it is. I think I would really like to touch a little bit on, so what do we get to do differently? How do we get to close this gap? What do we get to do as women in terms of, like you said, taking back our personhood, discovering who I am as a sexual being, deciding what I really enjoy, and actually choosing to show up as much for my own pleasure as I show up for my partners? So what do you ladies, what comments do you have on that?
So I think, the provision of education learning about your body. In my experience as a nurse practitioner, so many women that I've seen, they don't know what they have. They don't look down there. They tell you, "Oh, it's down there. I don't know." Know your body.
Mm.
Know what it looks like when it's normal, what it's supposed to feel like, so that way when something is abnormal, you will know. Okay. Don't just, pull the covers up and don't look. You need to know
Yeah.
what it is, how it works, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and to be able to communicate that and not be ashamed about it. The sexual stimulation, you know, don't be afraid to masturbate, because when you do that, you know your body, you know what it takes to make you feel good. So you can express that to your partner. Get all of that shame out. Try different things at different times. Advocate for yourself.
Mm.
Yeah, set up time. It can be hard for women, especially when we are parents, with young children. We're tired, and just put it on your calendar, schedule it. Hey, we're going to do this at a certain time. We're going to go here. Don't just do it in the bedroom. Go beyond the bedroom.
Right.
Yeah, go beyond the bedroom. Try different places, different times, all of that. I tell people, have an affair with your spouse, you know, do different things.
Right.
So, like tell him Sasha's coming next week, and get him excited. And he'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, damn, Sasha's coming? And the same way with him. Frank's coming on Friday, and you be like,
Meow.
oh, shit.
Did I just hear meow? I know that's right. Frank is coming
Hey.
on Friday, honey.
Yeah, just keep that excitement going on, and just the build up, and it really makes a difference. So you're not in that state of boredom. Things are not stale. And you're just laying there, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Okay. Yeah, advocate for yourself and encourage him to advocate for you too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
What
I
about
have
you, Desiree? Oh, no, pause for him.
a medical question. So, I've recently been seeing a pelvic floor physical therapist.
Hmm.
I'm so glad they exist. If y'all ain't been the one, go on get your girl checked out,
Oh
because
yeah.
it's amazing. How as we get older, our vaginas change.
Yes.
Maybe a little less dry. We have less hormones in our bodies.
Hmm.
One thing my pelvic floor physical therapist, she reiterates all the time. She's like, the vagina is a muscle. So
It certainly is.
it's a muscle, and just like any your shoulders and all that, like I have like a it's not a foam roller, but a roller to loosen the muscles in my vagina
Yeah.
because the muscles are tight. So what advice do you give women who are experiencing these problems, like pain or dryness, because that will definitely affect your sex life?
oh
Yes,
yeah.
it can. Definitely. So, like you said, as we get older, our hormones diminish. Okay. Estrogen is responsible for the moisture and the fluffiness of the vagina.
Well,
Okay.
very fluffy.
Yeah. So
Fluffy.
get your
Yes,
hormones,
ma'am.
yes, get your hormones checked. And there's this belief that women should not have testosterone. That is not true. We have testosterone when we are younger, but by the time we in our 30s, it starts to dissipate, and that's responsible for libido,
Mm.
okay, and a lot of other things. So just because you go through menopause doesn't mean that sex has to be painful. Get your hormones checked, get everything healthy. When we have babies, Our pelvic floor muscles get weak. The bladder falls, the uterus drops down. All of these things, we have a lot of problems because the muscles get weak.
The muscles. Yep.
So also, if you don't insert something into the vagina, it does shrink. So it's true, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Mm.
I have seen women where they're in menopause, they don't believe in hormones because there's this big thought of, oh, I'm going to get cancer, if I do something with hormones. No, that's not true. Hormones protect us from a lot of things. So I've seen to where they have to use these dilators because
Yep.
they shrink so small.
Mm.
Sex is so painful. When something is inserted, you get these tears. So of course that hurts when you try to put a penis in there and it's dry, it's small, so it shrinks. So if it's about this long and you're trying to put a penis in that's this long, of course you're going to have pain.
Right.
Yeah. And having those tears, things like that, that puts you at risk for infections.
Yep.
Yeah. So all of that makes a woman not even want to have sex.
Right.
That decreases her desire also. So
Yeah.
get your hormones checked. If you're having bladder issues, muscle issues, see a pelvic floor therapist. All of that does help. If you got urinary, issues where you're coughing, sneezing, and you're letting out a little bit of pee, that can cause embarrassment and make you not want to have sex because that's in your head. You think, oh, some pressure. If I do something, I'm going to pee on him.
Right.
There's a lot of things, but hormones are very important.
Yeah.
Don't, rely on that. Oh, you're just getting older. No.
Right, and just give up, because that's a lot of it. It's like it's just this is a part of it. I'm supposed to give up, and really, I mean, I think this is where we give up on pleasure, and we've been giving up on pleasure. This is beyond, not just with menopause. You didn't give up on pleasure years ago. Like,
That's
if
right.
it don't happen, it don't happen. But we're giving up on ourselves. So like we're saying about advocating for yourself. You get to be your biggest advocate and recognize what you're missing out on with respect to your own pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could be receiving pleasure until you leave this earth, whether it's penetrative or just, all over your body. Be open to receiving pleasure.
Yeah.
Until
Desiree.
this earth,
And,
even if you're 90 years old, go for it.
Also, let's normalize getting medical support, right? With any of these things, these are medical issues. And so when it comes to sexuality, we have different professionals in different domains. We like to work collaboratively. So I'll hear often, oh, I tried a pelvic floor therapist and it didn't work. That's not good enough for me. The breathing, it didn't work. Your breathing is always going to work. But now we have the psychological and the physical intersecting.
Mm-hmm.
So be very okay with the fact that all of these people are here to help you, whether it's vaginismus, right? Whether it's your pelvic muscles are too tight, because you'll go to someone who says, oh, well, just Kegel it out. Absolutely not. That's not what you want to do. So someone who can see you internally and examine you, maybe it's pelvic prolapse. It is so important. And so that kind of echoes the previous question, right? You are the standard, right? You have to treat yourself with the highest regard possible. Understand that you're worth it. And so whether it's your partner, your self-pleasure, your medical team, all these people are here to serve and support you. But if you don't hold yourself in that high regard, nobody else will, right? So be very curious, be very proactive, and actually give yourself the opportunity to try something different. Even if it's just breathing with a dilator for 30 minutes, you're retraining your body to do something that you want for it to do. And that's real self-love, in my opinion.
Yes. And I also want to make a point, chronic health conditions that we don't realize that causes sexual dysfunction in women. That could be
Right.
reason why too. Vascular issues. You've got diabetes. Diabetes causes your veins and your arteries, the little bitty tiny ones. which that's where we get most of our blood flow from anyway, is the microvascular, the little tiny ones. So they're all over your body, but throughout the, pelvic region, if you're not getting blood flow through there, that could be a reason why your clitoris, your vagina is not getting filled with blood. So you're not going to have an orgasm or feel that pleasure. Okay.
Yeah. So
Cardiovascular disease, obesity, all of these different things.
right.
There's neurological issues that cause these problems. So look at those things too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, if we're talking about what we want to get from our bodies, your bodies have to get to be in the shape that they need to be in to do the things that we're trying to get them to do. So,
or the supports they need, right? Because if we go with this idea also that all bodies are good bodies, we have to maximize and optimize it, right? But sometimes if your hormones, if you don't have bioidenticals, maybe a coconut oil suppository might be additive, right? There's so many other, once we can embrace what's happening with what's showing up, we get the support we need. We can also lean into, well, what can complement this process to make it accessible?
Got it. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Well, ladies, thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation. Do we have any other comments, Paz? Anybody else?
Yes, I just wanted to say the final comments. Someone said, "Damn, I'm glad I got to the living room tonight." So thank you for joining us in the living room.
Yes, thank you.
Someone commented, "I'm not going to be happy if I didn't satisfy my partner." That's one of our male viewers.
Okay.
Sex is to be enjoyed, and have a man advocate for you too. Love this.
Yes. Yep. So, well, thank you, ladies. Again for you want to reach out to the ladies. Let's see, I'll just drop it really quickly again, and then we're going to let's see, there's Desiree's link tree, so you want to check that out there. Pause the video if you're or rewind, and then there's Deborah's information for her website. So you can check those ladies out at their sites. So just as a reminder, we go live every Wednesday for No Bra Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we let our girls loose and we say it with our breasts. And we really love the wisdom that comes forward in the show and the fun that we have talking about these important issues. Because as you know, me and Pastel like to talk about stuff that gets customarily swept up under the rug. And so this is like where we get to be grown-ass women and handle some grown-ass women shit. So make sure you join us next Wednesday for co-parenting, because it's going to be a really good show. We're going to have quite a few co-parents on talking about their experiences and what we get to do with parenting and parenting in ways that are not necessarily the norm. So make sure you come and check us out for that. And tell your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel, have your friends subscribe to the YouTube channel, send this video to everybody that you know that needs to watch it and learn about actually making sure they're getting more pleasure in the bedroom. And we cannot wait to see you next week. You have anything else, Paz?
No. Thank you guys for coming on. This was an awesome conversation. Thank you. I didn't feel like I was drowning in the sexologist pool. So thank y'all for listening to me and allowing me to ask my non-sexologist question. We hope to see you all again at some point later down the line. Thank you, ladies. And thank you all for watching us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fresh out the oven, straight to the bank. Bentayga smelling like bank. Seats, somebody died on them. Kitty looking like somebody cried on it. Ooh, what you looking at? What you looking at? Body like cinnamon roll. Icing on the top if you got it, let's